Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Here we are. I've got rid of the squeaky chair for a slightly less squeaky chair that featured in my previous video. And today we're going to do something a little bit different, something I've not done on the channel before, which is a book review. I'm definitely taking the time recently to dip back into some of the books that I have here and just kind of reignite my love for photography, explore different avenues that I might not have when I'm working full time, when I am shooting and when I'm doing all the lovely admin things that come with that. But now we're in a little bit of downtime, I'm delving back into some books. Also, just like to address the fact that I'm wearing this hat here. The hair is getting out of control. I feel like I look like a sort of junior midweight graphic designer that you might find sort of hanging out in East London or something. That is some of the difficulties that I have experienced in the last couple of weeks, is that I desperately needed a haircut and then we went into lockdown and it's gone mad. One thing that I should probably point out is I am not someone to wax lyrical about compositions and accents of colour, you know, being the reason why my eyes find this enjoyable. Sometimes I just pick up books because, well, kind of like this one, I just like the cover. I like the blue gradient. It's got like a felt finish to it. It's really nice. This is Disquiet by Amity Willett. One of the things that made me pick up this book from Amity is his use of colour. Something that I often find myself gravitating towards is just nice colours, especially when they're used in conjunction with telling a story or evoking emotion. And it's that sort of mentality which drew me towards Amity's work when I first picked this up. Something that I really enjoy about Amity's work is his use of colour. On simple photographs like this vase of flowers here sat against the red backdrop, and that kind of continues throughout the book. There's often dominant colours in his books. So as you see here, the use of orange in this landscape, the bleed from probably a nearby street lamp or something illuminating the whole thing. And that's something that I just like to see in photographs. Just people using light intelligently. When you combine that with a hard-hitting subject matter or, you know, an interesting composition, I think that's when you can make some really beautiful photographs. Now, like I said before, I am the sort of person who will take pictures at face value. Do I find them pleasing to look at? Does it kind of fill me with an emotion? Usually I'm looking for a happy response internally to photographs. That's kind of what I try and gravitate towards, try and keep things uplifted and positive in life. But recently I have taken the time to find out a little bit more about Amity and his work, and this book, actually, there's a fantastic lecture that he has at the NYC School of Visual Arts. And actually the presentation is a little bit more about how to lay out and kind of create a body of work in a book, and his thought process behind the whole project here and how he's gone about laying out the book and sort of the story that he is aiming to tell. So after listening to that, I actually understood it a bit more. Definitely influences how you look at things, like this picture of his wife looking out the window. What could have been just, you know, initially you could see that picture and think, oh, you know, it could be a Sunday morning, quite relaxed, opening the curtains. Suddenly when you hear his story about how there is so much unrest going on in the world, images start to take a different perspective, tend to take on a different mood to the whole book. And actually, it's for me, after looking at the images individually on face value and enjoying them that way, now hearing his story, it kind of brings a whole new dimension to this book, and just a completely different way that I'm going to look at it. But whether you like nice images at face value, like I do, or you want to know the whole story about his project and everything, this book's definitely worth checking out. He's got something simple here, like sunlight on some spilled Cheerios. So for example, when I first saw that, I just thought, it's nice light, you know, it's a typical morning with a newborn, they've spilled Cheerios everywhere. I kind of pictured like a happy-go-lucky family morning where, you know, where everything's kind of perfect. There's a little bit of spilt Cheerios, everything's fun and everything. But the way Amity interprets that is, I think he sees like these long cast shadows from the Cheerios and sees them as like dark and scary time, you know. It's interesting to hear his mindset. So it's great on so many levels where you can get the photographer's story, and you can also take the pictures at face value. He also has a really nice Instagram account where you can just kind of take the pictures at face value. And yeah, I'll link his Instagram below. I'll link this book below. Definitely worth checking out. I just love the cover as well. It's got a nice felt cover. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? The next one is Box. This is by a photographer called, I always get this wrong, Holger Kiefel. This is actually the original sleeve, but I really hate sleeves, and the sort of glossy material that this is on really threw me off, and it would kind of deter me from picking the book up. So just the other day I took this off. But on this cover you have the chewed ear of Evander Holyfield after his second fight with Mike Tyson, where Mike Tyson bit his ear off. I think he shot the majority of these in New York, and this is a series of portraits shot from 2002 to 2010. Holger shot these either at gyms around New York, I think most of them were, or at press conferences whenever he could find a couple of minutes. You've got a massive index of boxers and trainers in the background here. Fighters, promoters, trainers, television commentators, managers, referees, writers, publicists, matchmakers, catmen, and other. And you can pretty much look up any boxer that you'd be interested in, and he will probably have a picture of them there. And beside it, it's got an interesting quote from something that they said throughout their careers. I think Holger worked with a writer at the time who would then do the copy for this. Yeah, Holger shot these real simple. He talks about how he would only have a couple of minutes with each of his subjects, usually throwing up a grey backdrop and using a single light. And I think he said he shot the whole thing on a Mamiya RZ67. So really interesting as well to be working on that camera for a project like this. And he switches between your typical portrait and then details of the fighter, sometimes shooting the fighters just after their fight. This is a great little coffee table book you can pick up at any time and just kind of be reminded of certain boxers or people in boxing, especially if boxing is of an interest to you. This book is a good one. Definitely worth checking that out. As with all the books in this video, they will be linked below if you want to check them out. Thanks for getting this far in the video, guys. If you are still watching and you aren't subscribed, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. About 80% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, which is just absurd. If you're watching the video, why not just hit subscribe? Let's get on to the next one. I'm going to leave this one to last. Let's get on to Mitch Epstein's State of the Union. So I picked this up at a market stall in Broadway Market in East London, near London Fields. This kind of just jumped out at me. There was a little stall selling loads of photography books, and this was only a tenner. To get a photography book this size for a tenner with good pictures in it is a bargain. So I'd never heard of Mitch Epstein before. I didn't know too much about the book, but I picked it up anyway. And when I first got it, I would just open it up onto big landscapes and kind of I would prop that on a shelf somewhere and just, you know, you got constantly rotating wallpaper there. That's initially what attracted me to the book. And after doing a bit of research on the book, it turns out Mitch Epstein shot this across 2 time frames. He shot the beginning of the book, sort of mid-70s to mid-80s, and then he shot the second half, I think, from early 2000s over 10 years there. So the first half of the book is more documenting everyday American life. You've got like yard sales, as they would call them, or car boot sales, as we call them here in the UK, simple family things. What I do really like about this is the second half of the book, where he kind of explores America's obsession with power. So he covers power over a few various categories, mainly like America's obsession with producing power, being powerful, and the power of certain things in America, such as gun control and religion. So powerful stuff, and it was the original landscapes that attracted me to this book in the first place. This is the cover here, which kind of let me just hold this up, which kind of details how, you know, America is bulldozing everything in its way to get to power, even if that means destroying the natural landscape. It's a relentless pursuit of power. A lot of the photographs illustrate like typical American life with massive power plants in the background there. So there is that underlying message, but I just like them because, you know, often the pictures are just very pleasant to look at. The palette, the tones of the pictures are really nice. Often there's like a couple of dominant colours in there so we can see this big grey factory. I'm always a fan of like big factory photographs, as weird as that might sound. If I go into a factory, I like the sort of look of the vents and everything. I like how kind of structured and clean that looks. But as you can see here, like you've got this massive factory, you've got a huge American flag on the side of it, and I just like the little green accents that is at the bottom there. And really, it's just a pleasant, effortless photograph to look at, and that's kind of what runs through the rest of the book here. So I'd never actually noticed that in the back of this one there is a power plant kind of glowing in the background. I think it must be the rising sun or the setting sun, which is just giving it that warm accent in the back there amongst all this green, which is again reinforcing that story of America's pursuit of power interrupting the norm, interrupting nature, the way that picture leads the eye. It's all very pleasing to look at. These two in particular kind of illustrate his point. We've got some oil fields here in the Nevada desert, and obviously we have the Hoover Dam here in Nevada. This one of the Hoover Dam is probably my favourite. I just like the blue tones which kind of run through it, and also that sort of clean grey brickwork which appears often in his photographs, and that grey chalk line of the foot of the mountains by the river leads your eye, and you've got that warm accent in the top right hand corner. Just a pleasing photograph to look at. And then we have the front cover here as well, which is great. Simple stuff like that, I just love simple stuff like that, you know. Unassuming photograph, but when you look at it a bit more and you kind of, and it's presented with the rest of the project, kind of tells of that sort of horrifying story of the pursuit of power. I love a good landscape anyway, so, and interrupted by that clean grey flat road. Yeah, really lovely work. And this one as well. At first I didn't quite know what this was, but this is actually a destroyed oil rig sitting off the coast, and was destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. The colours and tones are very nice, so yes, I do love it. And he just flips between palettes, you know, going from that purpley blue to the warm hues there. There's a bit of documentary environmental portraits in there, but what really attracts me to this book is the landscapes. And finally, the final book is not so much a picture book, but if you are a photographer or you're looking to pursue photography as a career, or looking to just further your own photography business, I always recommend this to people. It's probably been on the channel a couple of times before, but I couldn't do my first book review without including this. This is Running a Successful Photography Business by Lisa Pritchard. Lisa Pritchard runs a photography agency in London. I think she has done for decades, and has a wealth of experience in a lot of different genres of photography. So this book actually covers anything from commercial photography through weddings, events, stock photography, all that sort of thing. It was published in 2017, so it's only a couple of years old. There might be some social media things in there that are a little bit dated, but what is great about this book is the fundamentals that are covered. So anything from work permits, insurance, model release forms. There's actually pages at the back there with model release forms, estimate templates, everything like that. When people are talking to me about setting up a photography business or how they can streamline their photography business, I always recommend this. I definitely need to reread it, especially now that I've got a little bit more time on my hands. Let me just have a look at the index here and give you a little rundown of the sort of thing. Pricing, 20 ways to get noticed, perfect photo shoot, a step-by-step guide, legal obligations and code of practice, are you covered by insurance, keeping clients, getting help, going forward, and then at the back it has estimate template, terms and conditions, model release, property release, artwork release. So there is a wealth of knowledge in here. It's definitely worth checking out, and one that I always recommend to people. Again, I think this is about £15 or something. I've recommended this to a lot of people. Always goes down really well. Worth checking out if you are interested in the business of photography. And that kind of concludes today's photography book review. Thanks for sitting down with me. Thanks for sitting down with me for this first photography book review. Got a little bit extra time on my hands, as I'm sure a lot of people do. If you have any photography books that you would like to recommend to me or anyone else who's watching, please let us know in the comments down below, and maybe we can get like a little bit of a discussion going, a little bit of a book club thing, and everyone can kind of recommend different books to everyone. It's been a great time to kind of revisit photography education. If you're doing it full-time as a job, or if you have another job and you just do photography on the side, it's easy to get caught up in just taking photos and making your own photos better. How can I make my own photos better? What new techniques can I learn? And all that kind of stuff. But actually, if you just take some time to learn about other photographers and be at ease with just looking at photographs with no ulterior motive or anything like that, it kind of makes you feel a little bit more relaxed, and you learn a lot more than you expect. I find it really inspiring. I hope you guys have found this video inspiring to either go and take some of your own photos or pick up some photography books. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.